A screaming woman is being chased by a man through the parking lot. An armed, law-abiding citizen quickly comes to her aid. But who's the bad guy? Sometimes what you see is not what you see. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On this week's episode, we take you to the Buckeye State of Ohio for a reenactment which we have entitled Shoplifting Complex. But before I show you part one, let me introduce you to the panel. Wes Doss, president of Kyber Interactive Associates. Rich Portwood, police officer from the state of Illinois, and Sergeant Duncan Stewart, retired Connecticut PD. Rich, before I do this though, I know that you're heavily involved with a lot of things that take place in Illinois. Tell me a little bit about the Illinois State Rifle Association Gold Members Legislative Day.
iGold is the Illinois Gun Owner Lobby Day, and it's an annual event, and I strongly encourage every Illinois resident to check out the ISRA website and look up the dates. I know it's a great opportunity because we begin the day with a rally at the Prairie State Capitol Convention Center in Springfield, Illinois. We listen to a few speakers, we hear some legislative updates, and then there's a short march over to the state capitol, and everyone's given the opportunity to go in and meet with their state senators and state representatives. And I think this is kind of a unique opportunity that so many people get on social media and they write there, but they don't write their congressmen, they don't write their state representatives. And this puts a face to everything. And I think it's really an important thing that our state representatives see gun owners who are responsible, who show up, who care, who have this good image. Because a lot of times in Illinois, we're ruled by Chicago, and too many people don't see a positive image of gun owners. And this really allows us to put that out there.
I'm going to tell you right now, since Illinois came online with the Second Amendment, we went from 0 to a huge amount of viewers in Illinois. And I was quite surprised by that. But aside from that, normally when I see something like this with the title Legislative Day, it's congressmen and senators from that state in a shooting competition, which is more fun than anything else. Isn't that what you would normally think of? I mean, does that take place in Connecticut?
No. Progressively over the years, Connecticut has become more and more anti-gun.
Okay. Wes?
In Arizona, no, not really, and it's just because it's almost a daily occurrence as far as the firearm stuff. It sounds like it's probably a good idea though, because I think it's a good idea for people to get more politically engaged anyway, and that's a good opportunity for people to get out there and see who the representatives actually are.
Right, and this is not a fundraiser.
No. And one thing that I would love to add is that if transportation is an issue, the ISRA actually hires buses to go out to different parts of the state and bring people to the state capitol, and they'll take you back home. And if anybody has a question about it, feel free to contact me on Facebook. I'm more than happy to talk to people about it. And if we can get more people signed up for the NRA and the State Rifle Association, then great.
Okay, and this is a rising interest in Illinois, especially in your area now, right?
Yep.
So I think especially for Illinois, this is a good idea, and you folks out there might want to take advantage of this. If you can get in front of your congressman and represent yourself well, it only goes good for everybody in the country, right? And when we come back, I'm going to show you part one of Shoplifting Complex. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. Before I show you part one of Shoplifting Complex, here's a few stats I want you to think about. There are approximately 27 million shoplifters. That's 1 in 11 people. Shoplifters on the average are caught 1 in 50 times. Let's watch part one.
back here. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Don't touch me. Oh. Get over here. Get off. Get off. Get off me! Get off! Rape! Help! Help! He's raping me! Help! Help me!
What the hell?
Let her go or I'll blow your head off!
Okay, I'm a little uncomfortable. Let's say you're in the parking lot and you see a bearded man chasing a woman. I don't see any ID here. So, where do you want to start with this?
It's a disaster waiting to happen. And this seems to be a concerned citizen. If a black and white was rolling by and two cops jump out, not going to be good for that guy.
Right, right.
You know, who knows what can happen. Right. And especially if it's perceived as a rape, you're talking about a violent felony, you're talking about upper levels of use of force. I mean,
the fault here then is the loss prevention officer, which is Slash, by the way, is an off-duty cop.
You know, we say this all the time, that people don't take into consideration the unintended consequences of their actions.
Okay.
And they don't think about what's going to happen. They just think about, well, I'm going to do this. Yeah, but what happens if you do it that way? What if this goes south? What if that goes the other direction? You've got to play a what-if game when you're setting things up like this. You have to be prepared for these situations to go this
This is
direction.
exactly the reason why we produce this show. And I say that because what you see is not what you see. You think you see something. On this particular case, for instance, you don't see what you think you should see. And a citizen who is armed, who is trying to be a law-abiding citizen, take that into consideration, right? He just sees a bearded man chasing a woman. Now she's on the ground screaming rape.
I'm kind of wondering, if this security officer was an off-duty cop, why didn't he identify himself as an officer as he's pursuing this woman out of the store?
he didn't even say stop police.
Yeah,
the
he
first thing
didn't.
that'd be out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, based upon our information, he did not. In fact, he chased her into the parking lot, didn't observe all of the rules which most of us would have done, announcing who he is and announcing it loud enough. However, when he's down on the ground, and that beautiful GMC truck, by the way, sees what's going on, he doesn't hear that. He's looking for some kind of identification. So I'm going to go back to what you said. We're in for a disaster here because the wrong steps were taken. Okay, audience, I want you to think about this. Contact me on Facebook and Twitter. I think there's a lot here to be said, and I think you can help me with some input. But again, here she is. They're running through the parking lot. And I'm just kind of thinking of myself. You know, I pull into the parking lot, and I'm thinking, something's wrong here, and I need to at least get out and have a look at it. All of a sudden, she's down on the ground, and she's screaming rape. I don't see a weapon, okay? I may have a weapon, but I don't see one yet. So I don't know that I'm going to go for a weapon at this point. A body block? If you're going to get involved, you okay with that?
Well, again, I go back to Illinois law says, is this happening to you? Or is this
Okay.
happening
Is
to
that
someone
right?
else? You know, in Illinois, this isn't an acceptable sort of thing. You can't draw your gun and try to go be a vigilante, so to speak, and step into a crime. So in Illinois, this wouldn't be an acceptable situation.
Okay, so law enforcement would not consider this to be the right thing to do.
No.
Okay, right. When we come back, I'm going to show you part 2, and we'll have some more comments to add to that. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We've seen part 1, and before I go to part 2, though, is there anything further here that we've missed that may have been? Have you worked anything similar to this that would be relevant to what we're looking at so far?
No, I mean, over the years, we've had, security guys at some of the stores. You'll hear it'll come in as a foot chase in the street where they're chasing somebody, but, I think, the cops proceed a little slow to that. You know what I mean? They're not, they're not going 90 miles an hour and taking a chance on hurting themselves or somebody else to get to something like that.
Yeah, so quite possibly here, in fact, a law-abiding citizen who is seeing this chase and this woman hollering rape is calling in information to 911 that is in fact erroneous and not correct, right? So now that information is going to you in the patrol car, Wes, that there is a man attacking a woman and she's screaming rape. So you're coming to this with a whole nother attitude, right?
Well, you're taking it at face value. You're taking it on the information that's been given to you. And you remember, cops, when they show up, have a time frame to get these problems solved and move on to the next problem. So they're coming there, they see what's happening, and they take immediate action. He may figure this thing out later on, but yeah, you're going on what you're told.
Right. So you're looking at the guy as being the bad guy, and the fact he's not showing any ID is not working in his favor.
Correct.
Unless you just happen to recognize him as to who he is, right? Yeah. All right, let's watch part 2.
Let her go or I'll blow your head off. I'm a cop. Let her go or I'll put a bullet in your head. Look, I said let her go. Look, I'm a cop. Put your gun down.
Don't move. Put the gun down.
Watch your head.
Okay, first off, I see that the law-abiding citizen has made a judgment to get involved. All right, I don't see any problem with that. I guess anybody would. Armed or unarmed, I can see a law-abiding citizen seeing what's going on, I'm going to get involved. This particular one happens to be armed. What I saw was that he's got the gun on him. He's made statements several times, and the LPO, the loss prevention officer, is actually reaching in here for something. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm a little bit concerned at that point, and if I have a gun and this guy's fishing around to bring something out, is this a good idea?
Oh, it's a bad idea right from the start, and he's just very lucky that cop that got out of the car, the female cop, was a little bit more aggressive, because to me that's a shoot situation. I know Rich is over there, he's a cop, and this guy's, you got a gun pointed at him, and I don't know you, and you're pointing the gun at him, I'm not asking you, I'm shooting you.
Okay.
Because
okay. Wes?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But watching this play out too, I'm kind of confused on this guy. Lowers the hammer on the revolver and just gets in his truck and drives off.
I was going to say that. I was going to go there next, actually.
Because at the minimum, once he started to comply, he'd have been proned out, and because I don't know whether he's involved in this situation or not.
Right.
Yeah, because if I'm rolling up on this and I see one guy with a gun and I'm saying don't move, and he just goes ahead and holsters up and starts to get back in, that's not going to be something that I'm going to allow to happen, because I don't know what his role is in this yet.
Exactly.
Okay, but are you not focused on the rape situation more than you are that guy leaving?
But you don't know that isn't part of the rape situation.
Yeah.
He's just a
You
guy
don't
with
know
a gun
that.
standing
You-
there.
That's absolutely correct. You have no idea.
Could this be, two guys working together?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little concerned that he could just do that and walk away and she's not saying anything. Although I'll give her the benefit of the doubt that he's the least of her worries right now, and that her worries are really on the female on the ground and the guy who may be raping her, beating her, whatever, that kind of a thing. And so I can kind of see where she's going to say, okay, fine, because the fact of the matter is she does.
I couldn't disagree with you more, though.
Okay, all right.
Because to me, the guy with the gun is the most important and immediate threat.
Right. Absolutely.
Because he can still kill the officer before you have a chance to stop that rape.
Okay.
I think one hinges upon the other.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why I said that's a shooting situation. Because if I'm pointing a gun at him, all the commands in the world, so now I just shot him. He's dead.
Can you do that if he holsters his gun?
No, I'm not saying when he holds, but I'm saying you pull up. When she first pulled up, he had that gun. The concerned citizen had the gun pointed right at the cop.
And he doesn't need to announce something before he pulls the
If
trigger?
you announce it and then he pulls the trigger, well, now your brother officer's dead.
You're coming out of the vehicle, are you going to shoot first or ask a question?
Well, initially I would have done what she would have, but I would have been a whole lot more forceful about giving him those commands. I wouldn't have been as polite as she was. Yeah. And I certainly wouldn't have allowed him to just holster up and just walk away. Because, you don't know. And it's like, think about this. The topic you need is in the middle of the book. And you know it's in the middle of the book, but somebody slammed the cover on the book on it. You got to get through the cover before you get to the middle of the book. He's now the cover. He's there standing there with a gun, and you don't know what his role is in the situation. You just can't just let him continue on with that gun.
He's holstered and walking towards his vehicle.
Doesn't make any difference. If I turn my back to him and I go and help this guy with the woman on the ground, what do I know this gentleman's going to do? We don't know that he's not a constituent of hers until the whole situation's under control.
We have a lot of concern here. Get a hold of me on Facebook or Twitter. We'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers. Just before you left and right into the commercial, Sergeant was talking.
Well, in this particular incident, it's not just that the concerned citizen has a gun. He's got a gun drawn and pointed in close proximity right to, as we later learned, to be a cop's head.
I'm a cop.
A verbal challenge is all well and good if it doesn't put the potential victim in jeopardy. And if that guy, that concerned citizen, did want to shoot that cop, he's dead.
So the female officer should have come out of the vehicle,
Put the gun down.
dropped the gun with a little more emphasis and more command, and he does not drop the gun, and he holsters it and walks away.
I know he's the cop, okay? This guy I don't know has a gun pointed at the cop.
Right.
There's no talking. I'm coming
just
out of the
coming out
car and
firing.
shooting that guy.
You are.
Absolutely, positively.
Okay.
Because if I don't, he's potentially dead.
Okay, Wes, you going with that?
Maybe not at that fast. I wouldn't. Maybe it wouldn't have followed, but I definitely agree with the mindset behind that and the thought process behind it.
Rich?
Well, I was kind of looking at it from the standpoint, if I'm in that marked squad car and I'm pulling up, there's a big SUV, one guy with a gun, and another guy with a woman on the ground. How do I not know that this isn't an attempted kidnapping? Or they're trying to get her in the car to rape her. I can't justify letting this other guy put his gun away and get in the vehicle and go.
And the way I read it, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but she knows he's a cop. She recognizes him as a cop. Now, if that wasn't the case, then to me it would be a challenge maybe, or a no-shoot situation or whatever. But if I know him, he's a cop, I see this unfolded, and a guy's got a gun, is 5 feet away from pointing a gun at him. To me, that's a shoot situation.
Yeah, and she did know that he was a law enforcement officer, by the way. That is true. And to follow up a little further on that, she did call in that he left in the truck and he was stopped and brought back to the scene, okay? Just as a little follow-up to what took place. But that's beside the point as to what actually took place. And a lot of mistakes were made here. A lot of worse mistakes could have happened and didn't. What does that female officer have in the way of information, do you think, when she rolled up?
Very little. It seemed like she was just driving by and saw this going down.
So you don't think it was a call? I don't know whether there was or not. But if she had any information, it would be limited, correct?
Yeah.
But she had the one
Right.
big piece of evidence, big piece of information.
Yeah.
Him
Guy
pointing a
with a
gun, right? And that's the threat.
Yeah, right. I do think I should leave a statement here in that, you know, if you're a good law-abiding citizen and you've gone out and you have gotten your license to carry a weapon and you train well and you find yourself under these circumstances and you think that you're going to get involved, I want you to just remember why you went out and got that license and trained. You didn't do it to become a law enforcement officer, otherwise you would be one. You did it to protect yourself and your family. Once you involve yourself outside of that, I think you've got to be really, really careful as to how you do it and rethink possibly before you get involved in something. Hey, we got to go. I know there's a lot more we could say here. Get a hold of me on Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for tuning in this week. Be safe, be trained, be alert.